Yeah, the macroeconomic environment has certainly last year not helped. So it was very much in Europe about energy security rather than energy transition. We need to get back on that energy transition agenda. And that's what I'm also going to see this year.
In terms of some of the moves from China to reopen, many are citing that as a positive, that it could be the element that avoids the really strong downturn that some had put in their worst case scenario. What are you witnessing in terms of that China reopening thing?
Yeah, in terms of China reopening, for us, for the business, it's a very big positive. So the lockdowns were a serious break on the China economy. Before Christmas, when COVID started to spread again, we all were afraid of severe lockdowns. The fact that they opened up so quickly, but also the fact that this wave spread so quickly, but is in fact already, the first wave is already behind us, for business is a positive.
Is this just a story around growth? Because, you know, what we've seen with reopening in the West, that supply chains started to fix a little bit, demand came back, but also that has pressure on the imports around energy and transportation. Does China pose a threat on the inflation side with this reopening?
Yeah, you see that already, actually. If you look at commodity pricing, it is already going up. If you look at the recent days, and this is in anticipation of a stronger pickup in China than previously expected. Certainly also, if you look at the energy situation in Europe, we have been lucky not only with the mild winter, but also with the fact that we could actually source LNG, that there was no competition for that. With China coming back on stream strongly, you'll see competition for LNG. And yes, that will pose a certain threat.
What's your view more broadly, though, on inflation? Do you think we're getting to the point where central bankers might be glimpsing some positive information coming their way?
Yeah, if you look at inflation, what we saw last year already in Clariant in Q3 was sequential deflation on the material side, and we guided for a continued trend on that, and that's indeed what we see. So for us, key items, oil derivatives like ethylene, propylene, are coming down. We don't see it yet on wages. If you sort of look later in the year, we see that trend actually continuing, particularly with weakening demand in Europe. Now, the numbers that I hear here at Davos about back to 2% inflation, that I think is not entirely realistic.
So bumping to get back to that point because of the China theme as well, no doubt.
Bumping to get back to that point, and I think there's some structural challenges if you talk about decoupling, if you talk about the cost to basically fight climate change. I think there are some fundamental challenges which mean historic sort of extremely low inflation may not come back quickly.
One of the other big themes here in Davos has been supply chain resilience. To what extent do we see nearshoring, friendshoring? You've doubled down on investments in China, the opposite of what a lot of companies are doing. What gives you the confidence to reinvest there despite some of the trade issues, concerns around what we've seen with these lockdowns, whether we truly are done in terms of COVID restrictions? Why are you going after more investments in China?
Yeah, Karen, last year we announced actually 2 new investments in China, 80 million for a new surfactant plant, 40 million for a new flame retardant plant. For us, that is actually making our business more resilient in China. For us, the Chinese market is an important one. It represents roughly 40% of chemicals globally, so it's a market we cannot ignore. And actually, treating China as an export market is not a sustainable setup. So with a level of decoupling, it is important to be in China for China. So these investments make our business actually in China more resilient.
I want to tackle ESG, but in particular the G. In just the past week or so, the Switzerland Exchange, SICT, has opened an investigation into your company. Claims around whistleblowers, the reporting of standards, disclosure of price-sensitive information. How serious are the allegations?
Well, this is not news. So this is relating to the restatement that we had to do at the beginning of this year. This was an accounting issue that was dating actually back to 2021. And then actually, if you restate your numbers, which indeed we had to do at the beginning of the year, then there is a standard procedure that you have such an investigation by SICT. Have all the procedures been followed around this restatement? Did we timely announce this to the market and things like that?